Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video here on our major winter storm that's going to be coming into the United States. This storm is going to be packing a punch when it comes to snow, and actually, you can already see it here on satellite. It's starting to form. You can see that trough is digging down deep into the Pacific, also into Mexico, and pulling into the Pacific Southwest. And eventually, this storm is going to be pushing off towards the east, kind of forming a little bit more organized as it moves into this region. And eventually, that is going to bring up that Gulf of Mexico moisture and also pull down some of that cool air to kind of create a battle zone right here between those two elements. And it's going to be very important in just how much these two things interact. The good news is we have a certain amount of model agreement here where we are starting to get a good picture of what is going to be possible with this winter storm. So let's go ahead and start to break all of that down and hop right into it. All right, looking at the broader pattern here, you can see that we still have that ridging up here in the Pacific Northwest, kind of making its way all the way down the West Coast. Very strong winds are going to be possible over here in California. We'll be talking about that at the end of the forecast, but our main focus right now for most of the United States is up here with this low pressure system that is going to be making its way down into Texas, further down into the east. Man, you can really see that it digs really far down to the south, all the way down here into Mexico. That's a little bit further south than what some of our models were saying earlier, but still kind of the same storm that sets up here. We get that low pressure dig all the way into Texas, merges with some energy from the north, and then that snow really starts to fall over here in northern Texas, Oklahoma, going into Arkansas, and then eventually pushes off to the east, bringing some wider snow up to the north. I mean, you could see, because this trough is so elongated, that's going to be able to spread that moisture out just a little bit more. So we could still potentially see some snowfall up here, but there are some disagreements on just how far north snow ends up going, and also just how far to the east this snow ends up going. We still have question marks over here for South Carolina and North Carolina, but it does seem like we're setting up here for a snow event that could have some major impacts for the southeast. Coming over to our vorticity map, or kind of our where's all the storm energy map in its simplified terms. As I push this forward, you can see that that low pressure system forms kind of just like our last map was saying. But another thing that we got to be watching out for is this piece of energy up here to the north. When does it come in, and how does it interact with that low pressure as it pushes down to the south? You can really see on this model, it pushes all the way down to the south, merges with the storm right over here in Texas. And as you're going to see, as we look at the Euro model a little bit further into the future, that's going to show a lot of that transitioning into snow as we go into the 9th here, pushing into parts of the 10th early morning as well. That snow is going to continue to be pushing into the southeast. And then you can see that energy does make it all the way to the east. But one of the big questions is just how dry is the storm as it pushes into South and North Carolina? Is it still going to have enough moisture to drop enough snow or not? So here is our estimated radar, which is essentially going to take everything that we just looked at and put it in an easier to understand view. Kind of show us where the rain is, show us where the snow could be. And as I push this into the future, you can really see that low pressure system start to bring some precipitation down there into Mexico. And then eventually we get that organization over here in northeastern Texas. And at first, it's going to start off as rain, but as we get into the overnight periods, when it starts to cool, this is important here, okay? As we move into the 10th, at around 12 a.m., that's when the sun goes away, and we're going to be seeing the temperatures just naturally drop. So we should really see that freezing line sink to the south. Now, as I push this forward, you can really see some pretty heavy snow starts to fall up here in northeastern Texas, up here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, also kind of making it up here into Missouri, Illinois, going into Indiana as well. But the heaviest snowfall will be down here to the southeast. We're not really talking about much snow to come up here a little bit further to the north. But yeah, as we move into 12 p.m., the atmosphere is starting to warm a little bit at this point. You know, you get that sun coming out, but you can see that we still have that freezing line almost all the way down into like Birmingham, Atlanta, almost as far south as Jackson, Mississippi. And so most of northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia are getting snow at this point. Still over here near Arkansas getting snow. Still over here in western Tennessee and in western Kentucky getting snow. So it is setting up still. The models are in agreement that a major snowstorm is going to be coming for these areas because, again, you don't need that much snow in the southeast and in the southern plains to see things shut down. We don't have, a whole lot of salt. We don't have a whole lot of snow plows, if any, down here. So we get the amount of snow that's modeled on some of these models, we're probably going to have to prepare a little bit for this storm by getting some extra food and water because we won't really be able to travel at least for a day or so. As I continue to push this off to the east, you can see that snow starts to fizzle out a little bit. Still a decent amount of snow kind of here in eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee, moving up into West Virginia. Lighter snow further up to the north and to the east. But you can see the Euro is trying to bring some snowfall into North Carolina, South Carolina, and into Virginia, and also the East Coast. But as we've been talking about yesterday during our live stream, and it's still there today, no nor'easter up here for the Northeast. And in fact, the GFS is also latching on to that. So the GFS caved to the Euro. So thankfully, we're not going to be seeing 2 feet of snow all the way up here on the coast of the East Coast. That would have been very impactful. And what is the Euro saying in terms of snowfall? Well, here we go. We do have anywhere from 5 to 7 inches over here near the Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas area. Also 9 to 5 inches in this little strip right here, a little bit further to the east of that. Moving into Arkansas, we could potentially get a foot of snow still. So that signal is still hanging on here. We had a lot of confidence that this signal would hang on. It's still trying to hang on. Pushing up into Mississippi, we're talking about 5 to 7 inches there, 4 to 6 inches here in northern Alabama, even some snow maybe as far south as Birmingham, and then over here to Georgia near Atlanta. Northern Georgia could get 3 to 4 inches. And then as this moves off to the east, you can see that snow drying out and, the lighter snow being a factor here. We're going to see a lot less amounts as this moves into areas like northern South Carolina, moving into North Carolina and Virginia. But, we can still see 2 to 3 inches all the way from southern Kentucky, western Virginia, western North Carolina, northwestern South Carolina, and most of West Virginia with some scant snow amounts further up to the north. So again, we're not talking about a big snowstorm up here, but there is still some differences in the models. One of the main differences, I would say, is just how far north this snow goes, as the GFS has a different solution. So let's go look at the GFS really quick. So here's the GFS's solution here, and as you can see, as I push this forward, we have a decent little area here of that rain and snow trying to interact with each other as it gets to Dallas. And then as we move later into the day, yes, it's going to start off as rain, most likely for the Dallas area further north into Oklahoma. But man, look at that little strip of snow over there in Oklahoma setting up, according to the GFS. So a lot more north, even snow possible up there in Kansas and Missouri as early as the 9th at 9 p.m. So big differences here between the GFS and the Euro in terms of that northern extent. So definitely got to keep that in the realm of possibilities as we look to the future here. But as you can see, pushing this into the overnight hours, that is when we're really going to start to see, again, the GFS is picking up on that rain-snow line moving further to the south as we just get those natural cooler temperatures to occur going into the morning hours. And you can see that as early as 3 a.m., 6 a.m., most of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, going up into the Ohio Valley. And as you can see, a lot more snow is picking up here for Missouri, Illinois, Indiana on the GFS. So big differences here. We could definitely still see a decent coating of snow if the GFS is right further up to the north, but down to the south, a little bit different scenarios here. I would say a little bit less snowfall over here in this region and a little more being indicated by the GFS over in the northern southeast and going into Arkansas right here in this area. And as I continue to push this to the east, we're talking about hours here of snow. And believe it or not, yesterday we were thinking that because of the GFS, indicating that rain snow line would lift back through the north throughout the day, that a lot of this snow in northern Alabama and Georgia would eventually transition into rain, putting a damper on some of the snow amounts. But as you can see, the GFS is not so fast now. It's keeping that rain snow line a little bit further to the south and bringing more snow into northern Mississippi, potentially some heavy snow up there. Same thing over here in Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee. And that just sticks around for the whole time, never transitioning into rain. So definitely an interesting scenario setting up across the southeast. These could bring some major impacts if the GFS is right here. And then as we push this off to the east, a little bit more snow being indicated for North Carolina and Virginia with a rain sleet mix and freezing rain mix as we move into northern Georgia, going into northern South Carolina and parts of North Carolina. GFS is also holding on to more snow up here for Ohio, going into Pennsylvania, bringing a little bit heavier snow over here towards Richmond, Washington, and southern New Jersey. It still does try to do the strengthening off the coast here, but as you can see, it's a little bit further to the east, and most of that heavy snow is not impacting anybody. Going to be really bringing down the snow total potential up here in the northeast. In terms of our total snowfall, folks, this is it's looking pretty dangerous according to the GFS, and you don't really need that much snow to shut down the southeast. But man, look at the differences here between the Euro and the GFS. Still locking in on some heavier snow over here, not as far south. We're still not talking zero snow for Dallas, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, which is still a lot. It's still going to have some big impacts. But man, that main corridor of snow is really setting up over here near Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, going into Tennessee. So this is certainly a scenario here that we've got to watch out for, because the Euro is saying a little bit lower amount, so that's going to be the lowest part of our range here. But our highest part of the range, I mean, we could still be talking about anywhere from 9 to 10 inches up here going into northern Alabama, with anywhere from 1 to 4 inches down here near Birmingham, even 1 to 4 inches, maybe 5 inches possible over there near Atlanta, coming up over here to South Carolina, potentially getting in on 1 to 2 inches. But again, a lot of uncertainty what's going to happen over here, as the Euro solution is just so drastically different than the GFS. Same thing up here in the Ohio Valley. The Euro pretty much has maybe 1 inches over here, and then nothing in Missouri, nothing in Kansas, nothing in most of Oklahoma, and nothing in Indiana, with a little bit of snow there in Ohio, and also nothing up here in Michigan. So big differences between our models in some of the areas, but where the most consistency lies is that these areas that are highlighted here in pink and blue in the southeast for Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, northern Mississippi, going into Arkansas, the southeast corner of Oklahoma, and this pocket right here in Texas, that really does seem to be the bullseye of confidence here on our models. Another thing that folks have to be watching out for is over here in California near Los Angeles, and a little bit further north heading into Las Vegas. We're going to be having some very powerful Santa Ana winds move their way into this region, and this could potentially be historic winds, with the upper bounds being possible of 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts throughout this region. Fire weather is going to be elevated, especially down here in the valleys and the mountaintops, going up north of Los Angeles, near Santa Clarita, Oxnard, south of Palmdale and Victorville. This is going to be windy, dangerously windy. I mean, look how much these winds escalate as we go into the 8th at the nighttime periods here. I mean, we're talking about overnight, 12 a.m. A lot of folks are going to be wanting to go to sleep, but this is when the fire danger is really going to be escalated as we go throughout the day. I mean, that is a wide pocket here, especially for this area of really strong winds. Again, we're talking about 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, potentially 100-mile-per-hour winds down here in Los Angeles. So again, folks, you need to be weather aware down here. That fire risk is going to be elevated, and this is a very dangerous event here. You come over here to the dew point, you can see also why we're concerned about fires. Those dew points are going to be very low as those winds really start to pick up. You can see down into the 6-degree dew points here. So it's going to be dry. Those winds are going to be strong, and unfortunately, that's going to lead to some pretty big fire potential. And we're not talking about those fires that get lit and then burn slowly. We're talking about the fires that will move extremely rapidly. So fast, in fact, once you start seeing smoke, you really got to act fast. Going over to our fire conditions, as you can see, we do have a red area outline. That's a 2 out of 3 here for fire danger. It's going to be for Los Angeles, Riverside, Santa Clarita, and Oxnard. This is for today. So if you guys are in these areas, just be fire aware. Power outages are certainly going to be possible as well with those high winds. We could get some sparking off of the power lines, and then that can hit a tree or some dry brush, and then all of a sudden you got a fire. So please be aware out here. I cannot overstate it. This is a dangerous day here, especially in the red for those winds, fire, and power outages conditions. All right, here's what it's going to feel like across the United States in terms of the temperatures out there over the next couple of days. You can see that as we go into the 7th, we're going to start to see some cooler temperatures really start to dive down behind this storm that's going to be coming into Texas. Again, these are going to kind of merge as we move into the future, and that is what is going to be bringing potential for a lot of that snowfall, but also for some dangerous low temperatures up here in the Ohio Valley. We're talking about negatives all the way across the Great Lakes, going into the Ohio Valley, up into the Northeast. And man, look how cold it is up there in Canada. They're pretty used to that, but I would not want to live up there. Jeez Louise. But as I continue to push this forward, you can see that, it's going to be a brief cool down up there in the Ohio Valley, but eventually, we're really going to start to see those temperatures kind of warm up. I mean, in comparison to what they just were. And as we go into the foreseeable future, eventually we might have to watch out for another bit here of some Arctic air trying to make it back into the northern United States. But for the most part, it's going to be below freezing for almost the entire United States, unless you live over here in the West Coast or down in the southern tip of Florida. Really doesn't matter where you are. You're going to be below freezing with these wind chills all the way, really until we get into the 13th, where we start to see a little bit of a warm up in the southern states. Yeah, last little look at our system before I get off here. This is the same system that's causing these high winds over here in the Los Angeles region that is going to be coming into Texas. And by the way, guys, this is going to be moving directly towards the like and subscribe button. So if you guys haven't hit that like and subscribe button yet, please consider it. We will be going live to answer questions live on air. Any questions that you got about the snowfall totals, any of that, we'll be talking about tonight at around 6 p.m. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can get that notification when I go live. But yeah, you can see that it's organizing and it's close. And we're only talking about a couple days from now. So anyways, I do appreciate you guys continuing to come in here and support the channel. It means a lot to me. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. See you later.